Hi everyone, today I want to talk about getting out of debt. I will go over all of the 10 ways to get out of debt. They start with paying more than the minimum payment. They talk about the classic debt snowball. I'm not a huge fan of that, but it does work for some people. Consolidating debt through a personal loan. This can be effective as long as you understand the system. Balance transfers, which is one of my favorite ways to pay off debt cheaply. You can ask your creditor, potentially earn more money. Cut your expenses. This is another very simple way to do things. And then start budgeting. I budget my money every single month. Potentially settle your debt if you get into that kind of a situation. And then, of course, stop racking up more debt. And of course, I will go over some of the math on how bad these credit cards can be. As always, there will be some jelly at the end, which is something I enjoyed outside of the markets. If you have big dreams like buying the newly redesigned C8 Corvette, or if you're just getting started on your financial journey, definitely like and subscribe. They redesigned the Corvette to make it a mid-engined car. And because of that, it's much faster than it was before, and it can compete with cars that are much more expensive. And it starts at only $62,000. To keep your dreams at the front of your mind, like and subscribe. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So the number one way to get out of debt faster is to pay more than the monthly payment. While this may seem obvious, I think people really downplay the effectiveness. Even if you pay a little bit more than the monthly payment, it will really cut down on the amount of interest you pay over the course of the loan. Just another $25 to $50 to even $100 can cut down the term of that loan by a year or more, which can save between $15,000 and $3,000. So here's the demonstration of that point. If you have a $16,000 debt, and you have a 15% interest rate, which is the average for most credit cards, and you plan to pay off that debt in 72 months, your payment would be $339 per month. Your total payments would be $24,400, and the amount of interest you would pay would be $8,400. But if you were to bump that up just a little bit and you paid an additional $42 a month, that would decrease the amount of interest you pay by $1,531. And that would also decrease the term to 5 years instead of 6. Looking at about a $100 extra payment per month, you're now decreasing that bill by over $3,000, and you pay it off in just 4 years instead of the original 6. Number 2 is the debt snowball method. This means paying your smallest debt the most aggressively, and once that debt is paid off, you take that original payment and you put it towards the next smallest debt. And you continue this until you've paid off all of your debts. I'm not a huge fan of this because it prioritizes your debt based on the size, and the most efficient way to do this would be to pay off your most expensive debts, usually something like a credit card at 15%, followed by your car payment somewhere between 4 and maybe 10%, with current rates somewhere between 3 and 4%. The next possibility is to consolidate with a personal loan. This one may be a little bit more difficult because sometimes it's hard to get a personal loan, and the personal loans that you qualify for may not be a better rate than your credit card. But let's take a look at a situation where it may be beneficial. So again, looking at a similar scenario, you have $16,000 in credit card debt with the same rate and the same term. If you were to consolidate that into a personal loan at 24 months, which is probably the most aggressive personal loan you could find, and at 6%, which is a great rate, so you would need a good credit score. And since you chose a 24-month payment, this decreases the rate as well. Usually the shorter the term of the loan, the lower the rate. So your payment does go up pretty significantly. You're paying now $370 more per month. However, the amount of interest you're paying is only around $1,000, which means you save almost $7,400. If you go with something a little bit less aggressive, which would be 3 years, at 7%, remember this rate is going to go up because you're choosing a little bit longer term. You're now only paying an additional $154, and you're still saving yourself $6,630. So let's assume that you're going to use this Citi Double Cash card, and they show here they have a 0% interest rate for balance transfers up to 18 months. And there is a balance transfer fee of a minimum of $5 or 3% of the transaction. So this is really the most aggressive way to pay it off. Again, we have the same scenario, but we have that 3% balance transfer fee, and then we have the 18 months to pay it off. So your payments have to be $888, which is pretty significant. but the amount of interest we pay is the lowest we've seen so far at $480, and that's just 3% of the total $16,000 transfer. Next is to ask your creditors for a lower APR. You may be able to explain your situation, and they might have some sympathy for that. This is a pretty low probability chance, but then again, it never hurts to ask. Next is to earn more money. Again, a very simple concept, but there are a lot of ways to go about this. This may mean looking for a new job right now. This may mean finding a part-time gig on the side, maybe even something like Uber driving as soon as the Rona clears up. Or it could be a long-term goal, finding a way to get new schooling or develop new skills in order to find a job that pays more money. Don't discount this just because it may be difficult. There are certainly ways to make more money. The next two go hand in hand. Cutting your expenses is a straightforward way to put more money towards your debts and thus reduce the amount of interest that you pay towards them. This may mean something dramatic like either cutting your cable and just paying for internet, or just making sure that you're living in a house that you can afford, or maybe your car payment is too high and you should sell it and get something cheaper. Those are fairly dramatic, but there are other options that are cheaper. Maybe go to Starbucks less, you could eat out less, various ways that could save you money. And another way to make sure that you're doing this is to budget every single month. Make sure you know exactly where your money is going and understand how much each of those things is costing you. This is not to say that you should be completely minimalist and not spend money on anything, but just be specific with the things that you think are valuable. If you get into a really bad situation, you can always try to settle your debt for less. Remember, these credit card companies still want to make their money, and if they understand your financial situation to where you may not be able to pay the debt, they still want to get some of their money back. So there is an incentive there for them to try to settle with you. There may be a lot of rules to this, and there may be some negotiations that have to take place. Sometimes it's best to get a debt settlement company to work on your behalf, just so you make sure you're making all of the right decisions. And finally here, stop racking up more debt. Make sure you understand what you are spending money on and that those things are worth the costs. There are usually ways to get the things that you need for cheaper, and you should do those to the best of your ability. And that will allow you to stop racking up more debt and buying things that you can't already afford. And this is not to say that you shouldn't use credit cards at all. Credit cards can be valuable, and if you pay them off every single month, you can actually receive the rewards, which is kind of a profit for spending money that you already were planning to spend. But definitely don't spend money trying to get those rewards because you're just losing money on that transaction. So to summarize, you can start with paying more than the minimum payment, and this could already save you thousands of dollars. Next, you could try the debt snowball. Again, I don't prefer this method. Try to pay the highest interest debts first, and then work your way to the cheaper debts. Next, the consolidation loan, similar to paying above the minimum payment. However, this also decreases your interest rate, so you pay faster and at a lower rate, which could save you even more money than option 1. Looking at the balance transfer, this is the most aggressive way to do it, but again, it saves you the most amount of interest. Asking your creditors certainly doesn't hurt, but it probably won't help. You could always earn more money. Having a little bit of ambition and looking for that better job or even a side gig can definitely help. Cutting expenses is always a good option. If you can cut an expense that isn't essential, you should usually do so. Always budget your money every single month so you know where all of your dollars are going and you're not wasting them on things that are not valuable. And if you get into the tightest of situations, you may be able to settle your debts for less money. And most of all, stop racking up more debt. So let me know down in the comments section which of these methods you prefer, or which one of these was new and something that you learned in this video. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Of course, this is not financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. And with that, let's get to the jelly. So today's jelly is I Feel Good, played with only cucumbers. This guy's very creative, and he goes through the whole process of developing a bunch of different instruments using primarily cucumbers. So here's what that looks like.
Is it possible to make a soundtrack using a cucumber? Inspired by this friendly fellow that commented on my previous Seeing Sounds, I bet you can't make Gebby feel good with a cucumber, you irrelevant toss. But beyond misspelling my flawless wife's name and undermining my intention to ensure that she only ever feels good, I'm gonna tackle this one head on. So I'm gonna make use of all of these to tickle Gabby's fancy and ultimately make her feel good by recreating the timeless classic feel-good song by James Brown, I Feel Good. Here's a quick non-technical explanation of how I turn these cucumbers into musical instruments. And 2 cucumbers. That's a cucumber and trumpet. Just a simple sound here. This cucumber is a little bit more out of tune, but yeah, it works. Surprisingly quite a diverse group of percussive sounds. Underneath that kick drum, I'm going to do a bit of cheateroo. More deep, trying to be truthful here. The bass guitar very simply made D, G, and A. And since it was referred to as an irrelevant toss, I just made this irrelevant hit rock that I'm just going to toss around at random objects. Fuck. So good. So good. So good. So good. So good. So good.
Clearly, he's very talented and he puts a lot of time into making these videos. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of it. If you want to watch the full video, it's also linked in the description. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and have a great day.